Hey, do you like balance, expansion and total annihilation of the ecosystem? Good, then Factorio is for you. A game where one more is always the answer. See those 2 furnaces? How about 48? 4 steam engines? Those are rookie numbers. And war crimes? You can never have enough of those. As for you, you play as the engineer, who does not need food, water, nor sleep. Only production expansion. Using this very average German, you will be on the track to outscale the production rates of the postmodern Ruhr Valley, with more CO2 emission than my 2003 BMW. Just be careful not to alert the natives, because then you will have to give the USA a run for their money on military spendings. Flamethrowers, landmines or remote-controlled spider tanks, everything's on the menu. Okay, I got a little bit carried away there. Our main goal in this video will be to create and send a rocket into orbit before the biters can send our body to the spirit realm. And this gruesome task starts with the problem every doctor in my area warns me about: a deficiency of iron in the system. Okay, I lied a bit. Day 1 did not start off with iron immediately, but instead a 3-hour-long tutorial section, which started off with basic mining and smelting training, then turned into a power management simulator, and ended with me spending around an hour running in circles while waiting for the research labs to do their thing.
I'm running circles! I'm running circles!
Anyway, did the tutorial teach me the core concept of the game? Yes, the factory must grow. And does the tutorial encourages you to follow this rule? Also yes. But will it teach you how to do it? No, that's what Strupen's for, with all his phenomenal and sometimes questionable ideas. Now, with this small introduction out of the way, we can start where everyone else starts. The crash landing. Luckily, this husk of a ship has just every bit of starting supply we will need to quick start our rapid conquest on this planet's ecosystem. Mining, smelting equipment and an unregistered firearm. Oh, how do I know that it's unregistered? Well... So yeah, it was not hard to figure it out, but now back to factory building and to the first gameplay loop of this marvel. You will need burner drills to mine iron ore that you can chuck into these furnaces, then turn them into iron plates. Both of these machines require some kind of burnable fuel to function, so your best course of action will be to grab a pickaxe and start playing Minecraft with the nearby coal node. After spending around 10 minutes mining, crafting, mining, crafting, mining and crafting a bit more, you will have a revolutionary idea. What if you took 4 burner drills and placed them like this? This way they will feed coal into each other for a self-sustained mining operation. And luckily there are no downsides to building your coal production line like a human centipede. After setting up the worst mining operation known to man, your attention will levitate towards the top right of your screen, where you will find a way to unlock the best power production tool we have invented till this day. Turbines spun by boiling water. Ladies and gentlemen, the steam engine. You might think that I'm joking, that we will leave this mediocre design behind one day for a better power production option, like oil or nuclear fusion. But no, our only upgrade will come in the form of fancier boiled water. And this is not just limited to the game itself. Like, have you seen a nuclear power plant in real life? No, of course you didn't. Me neither. I'm banned from even going in a 100-mile radius of them after what I've done in 1986.
What did you do?
But if you take a look at the blueprints, they will look complicated at the start until you realize it's just a fancy way of turning water into steam. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, small-scale power production and large-scale deforestation. The latter is needed for the construction of our very first power grid. They grow up so fast. It will not always be pretty, but it will be ours. And we will use it to fire up our new experiment lab. With this, we will enter the second game loop, creating science. Using said science to research one of 3 things. You either unlock better production equipment, more stuff to create with aforementioned equipment, or means to protect said equipment. Now comes the question, what are we protecting against? The answer is these guys. These angry environmentalists did not like our mass deforestation actions, and this decided to riot against it by sending protesters to our factory and trying to convince us to change our ways. They had the reason, but I had the loaded Glock 19. So we all know how that interaction ended, but they will be back and in bigger numbers, so we will have to advise a plan to deal with them later on. After a long and exhausting pondering session, I came up with a pretty good solution: autonomous AI targeting crowd dispersing cannons. And on the fields of our safety, a concealed carry AR-15 should do the trick. After all, I don't want to end up as a certain healthcare CEO. But in order to get aforementioned items, we have to elevate and expand our production. We will start this with electric mining drills, a beautiful conveyor belt spaghetti, and an automated smelting line. Remember, this is your starter base. It will not be pretty, it will not be 100% efficient, but it will get the job done. At least that's what I kept telling myself while putting together these atrocities. After 1 hour of doing whatever this is, red science has been automated and mass research could begin. If this research tree looks confusing to you, don't worry, it is confusing for me as well. But my simple solution is that you just simply click on yellow things and they will eventually turn green, unlocking something useful. After this, we can experiment with our newfound technologies. More protection, research, power, expansion, and even more biters, whomst were quickly dealt with. And 2 hours in, green science have been fully automated. After this, my mind was tickling. The first signs of addiction were already showing. The feeling of satisfaction spread throughout my body. The neurons have been released by the completion of this project, and my brain wanted more. So the cycle began. More mining, more smelting, more production, and more and bigger attacks from the local environmentalists. Wait, what? Why is the PR team not doing its job? All of this should be covered up. Oh, our factory's pollution cloud has reached their headquarters, and that's the reason why they are sending non-stop raids at our way? I see. We need a plan, and quickly. Option 1, stay at the factory and build better protection, more turrets and bigger walls. Option 2, take the action to them. I chose option 2. Gather the necessary items, made my way over to their nests, and gave them 5.5 reasons why not to protest outside of my factory. Now you may ask, did this maneuver stop the biters from attacking? In short term, yes. But on the long run, this was a terrible mistake on my part. But luckily, we don't have to worry about those guys for a very long time. Anyway, I've crafted up a new whip and took it for a test drive on the nearby dunes looking for our next resource, oil. After finding it quite a few tiles away from my base, I needed new infrastructure to get there. Behold, the railroad. I started laying down the foundations for my new transportation method, but the locals had other ideas. So first, I had to disperse some crowds, and then I could create a functioning power and locomotive line to my newly founded factory complex, where I started on big-time petroleum, sulfur, and plastic production. The only problem with this location was the lack of coal, so that had to be shipped in by trains from the coal outpost I have built to the east. After this small inconvenience, we could build a copper and an iron production line, create green circuits, and I use those and the plastic for the creation of something red and rectangular that you almost want to press. Come on, go ahead, press it. And just maybe I won't hurt once close to you. Come on. See, that was not that hard. Anyway, back to green circuits, which I turned into red circuits. After finishing the small and unbalanced circuit production line, my brain was more fried than an average liver opening in chess. This fatigue was probably caused by the funny fumes emitted by my incense, and not the 9.5 hours of non-stop Factorio that is definitely not responsible for any negative side effects on my health condition. Anyway, whatever the reason was, this was the point when I said enough for day 1 and hit the sack. Day 2. Day 2 started off much like day 1 ended, with one little exception. You see, I did not tell you the full story of yesterday's night. While I stumbled upon my bed at some point, before I did so, I have gotten a very intriguing phone call. And it went something like this.
You, me, gas station. What are we getting for dinner? Sushi, of course. Uh-oh, there was a roofie inside of our gas station sushi. We black out and wake up in a sewer.
And yeah, the rest is history. That maybe the strangers at my local Euros place know, but not me. Because I was too busy remembering where did I put my car keys instead of saving information on this thing called my brain about last night. After making it home safely and getting a max of 4 hours of sleep, I was back on the grind. But last night's vodka, sleep deprivation and unexplainable bruise on my elbow left me playing Factorio like a demented old man, regularly forgetting what I wanted to do, sometimes having a hard time remembering to breathe, and taking a shit break every 2 hours. The delicious underpass Euros was now on his revenge arc, and let me tell you that I was fighting a losing battle here. But considering every hardship, I pressed on. Started off with finishing yesterday's plans and getting a blue science facility up and running, with a bigger green science production line next to it. But while I was busy acquiring knowledge on fine grinded blue chips, some biters were busy reenacting the siege of Stalingrad on my starter facility. They managed to break in and disassemble some of my turrets before I could get back there and apprehend the suspects. Although the break-in did not cause any significant damage, I still felt a sense of fear, like a storm was approaching, and this was just the first thunder in the distance. So I went ahead and tried to prevent the inevitable by dislocating more biters from their houses with my revolutionary car spinning technique. After this, I felt a sense of relief. Until I made it back to the starter base and realized that my iron vein has started to fudge. Oh no! This was bad news, but expectable. So I hopped in my car, looked around the map for a new base spot, and came back empty-handed. In order to access the desired resources, I would first have to evict hundreds of biters, which my little rally car could not manage on its own. I needed the tonk. So I pulled together the remaining resources at the starter base and started production on military science. Now it was a race against time. Will I manage to research every technology I need for the relocation of my territory? Will the resources in my base say it's game over, or will an unaccounted for third party ruin everything? The results came very close. I have just finished research on my new tank, crafted one up, and was ready to reign supreme on the local environmentalists in one-on-one combat and see some of the resources they were guarding. Exactly 3 minutes into this plan, a ginormous biter gang laid siege on my starter base. So I had a decision to make: race back to the base and defend it, or leave it for the natives and continue my crusade on their territory. After exactly 2 seconds of consideration, I have made the heartfelt decision of abandoning the starter base in hopes of promising new land. Goodbye, old friend, your sacrifice will be remembered. Day 3. Day 3 started off in search of some forbidden knowledge, in the form of can you use eggs and microwaves as landmines, or are there better means to protect your territory? Turns out there are, and it's called a flamethrower turret. So I put together a mediocre wall design and started negotiating with dominant world leaders to find my genocidal idea. To my surprise, no one wanted to help. They said they were occupied elsewhere. What a shame. Anyway, this just meant we were on our own versus the horde of angry and devolved biters. So we had to get efficienter. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the main boss strategy, where we put every standard material on a long conveyor belt and just take it off the belt when we need to craft with it, and just later feed the new materials back onto the boss. This way of organizing is simply phenomenal. My production rate shot through the roof, and progress was quickly being made on the materials we needed for the construction of the wall, with only momentary setbacks occurring. And in only 4 hours, the construction of the wall was complete. The setup is one flamethrower turret fueled with oil, assisted by 2 laser turrets focused on the spitters. And everything is encompassed by 3 layers of stone walls with this spike looking layer on the outside. Now I don't have any knowledge if this thing is useful or not. I just saw it in someone's YouTube video and decided to borrow it. I mean, does it help with keeping the biters out? Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. But did it make me develop carpal tunnel syndrome? Absolutely. But it was still worth it in the end. Seeing my glorious contraption barbecuing hundreds of biters alive every minute fills me with a sense of satisfaction that no other game managed to accomplish before this. Anyway, with safety now being achieved, we have a goal to reach: launching a satellite into orbit. But before I could do anything, I noticed the lack of iron and steel on the bus. I ran down to the iron vein, and what do you know? Nearly half of it was gone. And the other half struggled to keep up with our consumption, along with my oil pumps as well. This realization left me devastated. I have just finished surrounding these nodes with walls, and now you're telling me that it was all for nothing? Day 4. Day 4 started off with the construction of a pipeline to a nearby oil patch and encompassing it with just a few defensive endeavors. After bringing the oil back to base, I started construction on the parts for the rocket and yellow science. I was making steady progress with rocket fuel, blue circuits and low density material until my entire system got bottlenecked by the deficiency of iron. So I had to find a new iron vein and transport it back to base. My choice landed on the iron node I used on the end of the first day. The reason for this was the same people move into cities, better infrastructure. Because the coal vein I used for supplying that base was now inside my walls with 90% of the train system already built between the two. So I just patched up the train network, added an exit point on the base and set up the mining operation for iron on the south. I will be honest, this is probably not the best way to load and unload a train, but at this point I could not care less to learn a better one. With my iron and oil problems finally being a thing of the past, I put together the first bit of yellow science and started consuming hundreds of it in my research chambers. You see, some might call this substance abuse, but I call it my chemical romance. And after half an hour of overdosing on yellow science, the rocket silo blueprint was scribbled on the wall in my illuminated state. Now I just had to supply the parts for it. So all of the rocket fuel, blue processors and low density material were scrambled from the base and put towards building the rocket. After 40 minutes or so, nearly every single blue processor and low density material in my reserves were used up, but the rocket was finally finished. I crafted the satellite, strapped it onto the rocket with electrical tape, crossed my fingers and pressed the launch button. The deed was done. We sent a satellite into orbit, but our story has just begun. And if you want to see it, a like on this video might force me to do this whole debacle again, but in space. Till then, goodbye.